The 3D era is both beloved and mocked by Mortal Kombat fans, and that's because it's responsible for the best and worst original characters in the series. And one character that often gets mocked the most is Cobra. His design is an obvious parody of Cobra Kai, and his attacks are clearly stolen from Ken Masters, which is why most players ignored him and then forgot about him. But here's the thing, Cobra was actually good. Like really good in Deception. Many players consider him top tier or even top 3 depending on which console you play on. And then on top of that, he's appearing in an animated movie soon, which is more than I can say for Sindel. Or Melina. But I digress, getting your butt kicked always sucks in Mortal Kombat, but then imagine getting bodied by a boring character like Cobra. Today, let's discuss the most hated top tier in Mortal Kombat history. One of the main reasons Cobra is so good in Deception is because some moves are completely broken and unfair, and then on top of that he has really solid fundamentals as well. So he's a double threat. He has some broken nonsense shenanigans, and on top of that he's just all around solid. For a quick example, almost everything this character does well is completely safe on block. Like all of his stance switches are completely safe or plus on block depending on what version of the game we're talking about. So already that's really good, because keep in mind stance change combos almost always do more damage than every other string. So not only does this string do the most damage, but it's also completely safe, and it ends with a low, which is a pretty decent mix-up on top of that. For a lot of characters, having a stance change that ends in a low would be completely punishable on block, but that's not the case for Cobra. And every time I say safe on block, there is always that one comment asking what that means. So all safe on block means is that I recover in time to block because my animation finishes fast enough. So when I do this, I can block before the opponent can retaliate. Or in other words, it's the opposite of a Scorpion teleport. Every time you block that thing, you can punish Scorpion even if he's holding down the block button. Scorpion can't block in time because the animation on his teleport is still finishing while you attack. So Cobra is the opposite of that. He can do something like this, and it's 100% safe. And I switch stances at the same time, which means I got optimal damage for my string. And it's not just the stance switching. A lot of stuff that Cobra does is completely safe, and a lot of the time those safe options are some of his best tools, which means Cobra is pretty much never punishable if the player knows what they're doing. In fact, even certain special moves are safe, like his teleport. If this thing doesn't miss you and you block it, it's completely unpunishable. And keep in mind, this tracks the opponent's location, so he can be a full screen away and still catch you with this thing. And according to what I've researched online, this teleport is safe in the GameCube version of Deception. Okay, but you know what? Time for the broken stuff. I'm sure you're tired of hearing about fundamentals. You want to see some broken nonsense that Cobra has. Well, let's do it. Let's talk about his throw. This throw allows Cobra to move before the opponent can even get up. And normally that would only be good for frame advantage, and that's about it. However, here's the thing, if you throw the opponent at just the right angle, you'll toss them over Cobra's head, which means he can walk up to them and throw them again, guaranteed, and then he can just loop this forever. And the reason that's possible is because the character has to turn around to face Cobra before they can duck, and they can't avoid the throw unless they have time to duck. But because their character is busy turning around, they don't get to duck, which means the throw is guaranteed every single time. Because don't forget, you can't break throws in Deception. They're 100% guaranteed unless you avoid them or interrupt them, and neither option is possible in this setup. And that's why if Cobra corners you and throws you at the right angle, he can loop his throw over and over again until you're dead. Or maybe you get lucky and the timer runs out. You'll still lose, but at least your character didn't have to die the old-fashioned way. Now, on top of being safe on pretty much everything, Cobra just has good pokes. His standing one, a really good poke. It's extremely fast. His down one hits low and also is extremely fast with decent range, so Cobra just has fantastic pokes. His back three is also a low too and has decent range on it, and because he's standing, it's a bit deceptive when it comes to low attacks. Now, of course, not everything Cobra does is unsafe. A lot of his launchers are punishable on block, but that makes sense because they lead to a full combo. If those were safe, then that would be completely busted. So make no mistake, he's not safe on everything. However, so many of his great attacks and strings are completely safe on block, which means the opponent just never gets to punish you as long as you know what you're doing. And before we move on to his next dance, I have to show you this string, up 4-4. It looks amazing, right? It's pretty much Guile's flash kick, but it's on fire, so that makes it even cooler. However, the funny thing is, Cobra can actually hit the ceiling in this game. Yeah, there's an invisible ceiling, and if you hit it by doing this move, it will forcibly separate Cobra from his opponent, and it looks hilarious. And if you want a different launcher, you can do 2 into stance change, and I'm not sure if this one is safe or plus on block. Let me know in the comment section down below, but as you can see, it starts combos and also switches your stances. And that leads into one more reason why Cobra is fantastic fantastic in this game. All 3 of his stances are good. He doesn't need to rely on any one of them as a crutch. They're all very good. In a past video, I spoke about Reptile's crab stance and how it makes him a top 3 character because the mix-ups and frame advantage are ridiculous. However, if Reptile ever leaves that stance or just never manages to get into it, then he's no longer a top 3 character. He needs that stance. And this is not the case for Cobra. He's good in every one of his stances. They're all very viable. So next up we have the kickboxing stance. So once again, a ton of safe stuff in this variation. He's got really good lows that are completely unreactable and also safe on block, so that's really good. And as mentioned before, he can do a stance switch and he's completely safe the entire time. So if it hits, fantastic, you get good damage. If it's blocked, no worries, you can block in time and not get punished at all. And now finally it's time to talk about the Daredevil stance, right? The Kali sticks, pretty much the same weapon that Daredevil uses. This stance is arguably his best because it has 50-50s and a lot of them are completely safe. So for example, we have this string right here. That mid at the end is completely safe on block, and when I say mid, I mean overhead. They're called mids in this game, but they're one and the same. A mid is an overhead. This overhead will catch crouching opponents and it's 100% safe on block. However, as mentioned earlier, there is a 50-50. I can just do 2-4-3 instead and it's a low attack, so if the opponent's scared of the overhead, I can mix them up and just go for the low instead. Now the catch is the low actually is unsafe on block, but you don't even have to go for it if you don't want to. And get this, Cobra has the exact same 50-50 with a different string. He can do 1-1-2 and then have the exact same situation. He can do the overhead, which is completely safe on block. There is absolutely no way to punish him for doing it. Or instead, he can go for the low, which is still punishable, but it's a mix-up, right? You don't know if the low is coming. If you're scared of the overhead because it's the more logical option and you block high, he can catch you in the legs with a low. So just like mentioned earlier, Cobra only takes a risk if the player wants to. They don't have to go for the low. They can go for a safe overhead every time, and if it lands, you're losing almost a third of your health. That's a lot of damage for a safe on block mix-up. And actually, does this combo do even more damage? Let's see, I'm just kind of curious. This one does 29%, so not quite as much damage, but it's still a 50-50 mix-up, right? That's pretty ridiculous, and one of the options is safe. And last but absolutely not least, this variation just has good range because it's the weapon stance. The weapon stance always has great range, but just look at these pokes. Look at down 1. Look at the range on this thing compared to other down 1s in previous stances. The range on this build is absurdly good. He can reach you from very far away. Or to summarize, this stance has safe 50-50s and some really great damage and the best range of all 3 stances. So yeah, it's a keeper. Alright, but no more messing around. Now it's time for the extra fun stuff, the special moves. Cobra has some of the best special moves in the game because he literally has one of everything. He's a jack of all trades. For starters, he has an overhead launcher, so if the opponent is crouching, they get hit and launched for a full combo. Already that's pretty darn good, but then on top of that, he has 2 fireballs, one of which hits low, which means yes, he has a 50-50 from his special moves. Cobra can literally be all the way over here and he still has a 50-50, a low and an overhead, which online can be very, very tough to block because this game did not have rollback netcode, which means there is pretty much always lag. It was either tolerable or complete nonsense, and it made this 50-50 really difficult to deal with. And you might be wondering, why even have a high fireball if he has a low fireball? Well, the answer is jumping, right? Jumping is a lot easier to dodge the low fireball, but jumping over the high fireball is much tougher because it's higher in the air. And then we have his front punch, which doesn't seem like anything special, but it does go pretty far and puts the opponent in a hard knockdown state, which means maybe if you're lucky, you can sneak in some follow-ups. Yeah, stuff like that, that's probably guaranteed. And then finally we have the teleport once again. I know I spoke about it earlier, but I want to emphasize how safe this thing can be, but oh, look at that, it whiffs in the corner. I didn't know that until testing things. So we gotta throw Baraka out of the corner because this teleport is apparently complete trash if the opponent's cornered. So for mid-screen, it's way, way better. Darn it, he's cornered again. Get out of the corner, Baraka. Get out of the corner, please. I gotta show the people how this works. All right, cool. So this teleport can track the opponent's location from pretty much anywhere, and as long as they block it, it's completely safe. That's really good for a teleport, because keep in mind, the animation on some projectiles is pretty long, which means you can react to the fireball and then punish it completely before the opponent has time to block, because the teleport is somewhat quick. And I probably didn't have to explain any of that, because I think all of you know that having a teleport that can't be punished is really, really good. Now there is a catch. Apparently this teleport can whiff a lot. Like, people can sidestep it by accident, they can do a move that avoids avoids it by accident, or as you saw earlier, they can be against the wall, in which case the teleport misses completely there too. So yeah, it's not the best teleport in the world, but it is still safe on block, and that's worth mentioning. And believe it or not, a lot of these special moves are also completely safe on block. I can't find out for certain which ones are punishable or safe because there is some conflicting information online, but just know that a lot of these special moves are safe on block and are also mix-ups, right? Some hit low, some hit overhead, and they're still completely safe, and some lead to full combos. So yeah, they're really, really good. At the end of the day, people can make fun of Cobra all they want. They can call him unoriginal, they can call him boring, lame, all that stuff, but guess what? At the end of the day, he was still top tier. In fact, some players say he was top 3 in Deception. Cobra is always going to get the last laugh. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like down below. It really does help my channel out a ton. And then keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell. That way you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.